Well, I guess I'm going to have to stand up and improve the lighting in the room here. So I'm going to do that. Have something here to take care of that. Let's see. And that should do it. I could also, I guess, do something. Oops, that's not it. That's not it again. I think I have to go. There we go. Okay. So just a little bit more light on the subject. Oh no, I'm going to stand up just because I don't necessarily. My seat is not right here. So, okay, yeah, that works out. That's just fine. So this talk about Whoopi and her being suspended for 2 weeks, and people being in uproar with regards to what she said, and she wasn't entirely wrong. And this is why I'm saying that. And you can look this up. But right now, scientists basically say is that race is a social construct, meaning that anybody can, there's just people will define race like they will. And in fact, I did read an article from Facebook that was written by somebody in the Atlantic that just it was a complete word salad that tried to sort of elevate Jewishness into this sort of undefinable essence, and at that point it's say what you will, believe what you will believe, but it's just bullshit and it's word salad. I would say this: look at a person right now, just pick up any person off the street, okay, and just look at them and tell me if they're Jewish. Okay. There's some traits that you may try to identify as Jewish or belonging to the Jewish tribe, and then you start dealing with stereotypes. And so then, if you think a person is Jewish because of the way they look, then you might be stereotyping that person. So the bottom line really is that what is offensive to people is not the race. I mean, the race is, or the when we were taught originally, when I was taught originally, what races were about, or how many races there are, or even, the fact that they still, and now they call them, ethnic groups. But the thing was, or what they were saying is, what they did, um, race was um, based on the physical attributes of a person. And so, of course, the color of the skin, the shapes of their nose, the shapes of their eyes or eyebrows, shape, all these things are basically what sort of identified a race. That's what, and there were certain stereotypes, and that's the construct that basically everyone was put under. But the problem, with that is, and this races, or different groups. I really don't know enough about biology or anything like that. I haven't studied it to the point where I would be able to understand the differences with regards to the different, um, categories or anything like that. But in a way, I definitely consider humans more to be like dogs, and different breeds basically sort of reflecting different kind of cultures and what have you. I don't and again, this is not incredibly thought out or anything like that, but and definitely not studied in any sense whatsoever, and definitely don't have the right terminology or any sense. But think about a conversation with a person in the United States when they say, I'm not a racist, I have black friends. Well, and a lot of, we accept black friends when our black friends accept our culture, when they're interested in the things that we do, and we find common ground. So, for example, right now in the United States, part of the culture, let's say, I'll pick on this, is, American football, the National Football League, and kind of bringing in the Flores situation into this as well. Um, but when a person accepts basically your social construct, and they try to live within the context of uh, of your culture, then you get more accepted. But there are still barriers. So in this particular instance, uh, the color of the skin and the culture of of uh, Coach Flores basically does not jive with the white ownership, basically. So there is that divide, and you can call that a racial divide if you want. But the way I look at it is really more of a cultural divide, because the color of the skin is not just the color of skin. It just brings on board a whole array, a whole pattern of behaviors, not just behavior, but even a way of thinking about things. A way you decorate, a way you dress, all these things. And some aspects of culture are easy to sort of abandon, and then other aspects of other cultures are easier to adapt. I mean, we live in this, in essence, in this sort of multicultural environment that is not simply defined by the color of skin. Um, uh, it's defined by economic privilege as well, or not even, it doesn't even have to be privilege, but economic parity or socioeconomic parity. So you will see poor whites with poor blacks. You will see poor whites imitating rappers. All because this is part of a culture that is being accepted. So, patterns of behavior, patterns of thought. This thing we tend to get bogged down in the nuances and the little details. And I think that in order to better understand the situations, we have to elevate ourselves above it and sort of think beyond that. We have to stop sort of believing that we're part of this, and extricate ourselves as much as possible to try to have a better understanding of it. At the end of the day, really, race is a social construct. And there are certain things that define race. And there are um, you can say that there are, of course, that Black Americans exist. Yes, there is a Black race in it, but it is more than just the color of the skin. It is a culture. It is a way of thinking, a way of processing information. The way of looking at things. All of the things play into how we either accept or reject an individual, and at the end of the day, that is how we start forming allegiances and alliances, and we start to establish the network that we feel comfortable mobilizing in. So just you know, I think that the situation should be handled differently. I do think that the people who are sort of that punished her are really not being fair, in the sense that she had there was no ill will, on her part. She was not trying to diminish the value or the horror of the Holocaust in any sense whatsoever. She was saying it's still a bad thing that happened, you know, except it's harder to see as a racial thing when you see white being white. How do you identify a Jewish person? What did they do? What they actually did is they marked a person, so that they could identify them. So that there were Jewish people who were able to circulate and really not be known to be Jewish because they had Aryan features, and it really didn't make them look Jewish. And so they were able to fly under the radar. I mean, I don't know the numbers of the stories or anything like that, but I'm sure that that is the case. Because again, I will ask you, if you look at any person on the street, can you tell me what race they are? At this point, it's a very difficult thing to do. Okay, and we shouldn't identify races as much as we do identify Black culture, Black and Jewish culture, Asian culture, Pacific culture. We identify the cultures, the thought patterns from the different geographic regions of the places. And you have cultures, and then you have even subcultures. It's a very complex network of a very complex network that is not just a network based on philosophies, based on existential levels of awareness, but it's also based on economics. It's based on physical attributes, perceptions of aesthetics, of beauty. All these things are basically factors that play into the dynamics of our social interactions. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I said it. If you have any comments or anything like that, I'm kind of be interested to see what your thoughts are on that. But again, I thought that personally, this issue has not been handled in a very clear fashion. Actually, it's a very obtuse. It's very unclear, and again, she had no. There was nothing malicious in what she said. Period. Nothing malicious. Um, she was making an honest statement, and I don't think she had anything to apologize for, really. Um, you know, there's this hypersensitivity with regards to overalls identities. That cuts across the board in all areas. It doesn't matter right, left, center, whatever. There is a hypersensitivity in that regard, and hey, you deal with it as you deal with it. Me, I'm kind of not being trying to avoid being hypersensitive, trying to look at things in a more analytical fashion, and just trying to understand things a little bit better, and trying to do better. That's pretty much it. So that being said, take it easy, and maybe we'll talk to you some other time. It looks like I'm starting to get a little bit more interested in doing this again. So anyway, gonna go to my little mouse. I should have had this handy, and I'm gonna end the stream.